So today we're going to be looking at graphing systems of equations. So before we do that, we're first going to look at what happens if we plug in ordered pairs into equations and see if they actually satisfy and can be a solution. So what we're going to do here is I have my x value and I have my y value that they provided in this ordered pair. All I'm going to do is whenever I see an x, I plug in 3. So here I plug in 3 plus. Whenever I see a y, I'm going to plug in 1, and that should balance out to be 6. So 3 plus 3, because 3 times 1 is 3, equals 6. And again, that should balance out, and it does. And then we check this one, 4 and 3, and then minus 5 times 1, and that should equal 7. So this becomes 12 minus 5, and again, it's 7 equals 7, so this is a solution. Okay, so now on this one, let's look. We have 6 for my x value. Negative 2 is my y value. So we have 6, and then this is minus 2, times a negative 2. So a negative times a negative becomes a positive, and it should equal out to be 14. Let's look. So 3 times 6 is 18, and this is going to become plus 4. And I can already see that this is not going to become 14 equals 14. So this one is not a solution. Okay? So let's move on to the actual graphing part. So you want to have it in y equals mx plus b form. Lucky for us, these two are already in y plus b form. So remember the y equals mx plus b. The m stands for the slope, and right here, if you look at this one, it's negative 2 would be considered the slope. The b would be the 1. All right. The b is also known as the y-intercept. So you always want to start at the y-intercept. So if we're plotting this first point, it's at plus 4. So I'm going to go to plus 4 on my y-axis and plot a point. Then my slope is 1, so I know I rise 1, run 1. Okay. And then I'm going to do it one more time, just rise 1, run 1. And then now I see how my line's going, I'm just going to draw a line. Okay. On this one, my y-intercept is 1, so I'm just going to put a point at 1. Okay. And my rise over run is negative 2, so I'm going to rise 2, and I'm going to run to the left one time because I have that negative. And I can already see where these two meet up at. So they meet up at point negative 1 and positive 3. So my solution is negative 1, positive 3. Okay. This next one is very similar. It's already in the y equals mx plus b form. So let's go ahead and plot the points. Even though I'll show you how I already know what the solution is going to be, but we'll talk about that shortly. So I'm going to go ahead and plot this first point. It's 6 is my y-intercept, and then rise is 1, and then run 1 and 1. Okay. So have my first line. My next line is 6 on the y-axis, and then it's rise 1, 2, 3, and then run negative 1. Well, I already see where my line meets at, and it's at the y-axis at 6. So that's how I kind of knew what it was going to be at the beginning. So my solution is 0 and 6. So before we wrap this up, let's take a look at what happens if I don't have it in the perfect y equals mx plus b form. Well, all that means is I need to do the inverse operation to get it into that form. So let's look at this top one first. Okay, so this top one, I need to make it, I'm going to rewrite it down here. I need to do the inverse operation to get everything except for y over to the right. Okay, so I'm going to get rid of this 4x first. Okay, so I'm going to subtract 4x to both sides. That's going to cancel out, and I'm going to end up with 2y equals negative 4x plus 6. Okay, and then I have to get rid of this 2 as well, so I divide everything by 2. I get y equals negative 2x plus 3. Okay, and I'm going to write down my other equation here, y equals x. Okay, so somebody be saying, well, this one doesn't look like y equals mx plus b form too, but we have an m, it's an understood one, And if it's no number back here, that means it's going to be essentially plus 0. All right? So I'm going to show you how that will look when we graph it. Let's first graph this one, though. We start off, and this is my origin, just in case you can't tell from the chart. All right, so we're going to start off at positive 3, because that's my y-intercept. And then we're going to rise 2 and run negative 1, all right, because this is a negative 2. So I have my point, so I'm just going to graph my line, okay? So now, if I go to this other one, well, my slope is 1, and my y-intercept isn't there, so I know it's at 0. So where my origin is, I'm going to just put a dot on my origin, which I already had. It's going to be at 0, and then my rise over run is 1 and 1. So I see here already that my answer is going to be right there, and my solution is going to be 1 and 1 as my answer.